So we're here today and we're getting ready to do our pour and start the finishing process for our concrete countertops. So I'm going to take you inside and show you some pictures. We've got the forms, as you have seen pictures, built, and I have the glass fiber mesh down. We have the clips that hold the fiber in the middle so that it retains that strength, so it doesn't, like, the mesh doesn't sink to the bottom. I mean, think about it, like if your rebar sank to the bottom, it wouldn't strengthen your concrete. So we've got the clips down, and I'm getting ready to show you some pictures. I'm going to put some plastic down for safety precautions, trying to keep it clean, and we're going to mist the backer board down with water so that it's already saturated and won't draw the moisture from the concrete as it's curing. So I'm going to show you all that, and then I'll come back and explain what we're doing. Also, something of note, this is a little extra step that I do because I'm paranoid of leaks. So I take a caulk, a concrete caulk, and go around all my seams and everything just to make sure that everything's sealed really good and tight, so that when I start my pour, I don't get any leaks. So between that and the duct tape on all your seams, you should be good. But I keep duct tape and a pair of scissors on hand just in case somewhere starts leaking. You can stop it pretty quickly with that. So here you see I've got a big mixing bucket. I've got a measuring cup to measure the water. This going in right here is the additive from Concrete Countertop Solutions. So this actually has fibers in it, and it strengthens the concrete and makes it more pourable all at the same time, because it's very hard to find a good concrete mixture that does both of those things. So you mix that in the water to get the fibers evenly distributed through the water first, and that'll just be very watery. I believe going off the directions on the box, you put like half of the water in and you mix it in, and then you add more water, and then you gradually add the concrete. And the concrete that you're using is going to be just your run-of-the-mill sand concrete from your Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever your nearest hardware store is. So right here you'll see me, I've got a paddle mixer, and it's attached to my drill. So I'm going to add the rest of the water. At the moment I cannot remember the quarts measured, but all those instructions are actually on the package. And Concrete Countertop Solutions also has some great how-to videos as well. Here's your common sand concrete mixture. Now I will say this gets like thick and heavy, and it gets really hard on your drill pretty quickly, so do it gradually. And then as you go, don't be afraid to add more water. You're going to want your inconsistency to be like cake batter, so that it's very pourable and it'll pour through that mesh. And as you're pouring this, you're going to want to pour it into your frame and spread it out, just sort of evenly distribute it around, and then take your fingers and reach through and grab that mesh and kind of shake it. And just make sure that the concrete's getting through it, so you have even amount of concrete underneath the mesh and on top of the mesh, and it stays in the middle with those clips. I had to do it in batches because I was not strong enough to pick all of it up at once. So I did batches in this big bucket. So unfortunately, I was really hustling to get it all in there, because you don't want half of your countertop to start setting up before you get like the rest of it in there. So I did not have time to get good video footage of me actually pouring it into the frames. So I'll go back and pull out some of the tools I used and do a quick shot in my shop and give y'all the best description I can of how that happened. So anyways, you're going to want to keep mixing it up, adding more water, getting the right consistency. You're going to pour it through your frame, into your frame, shake your mesh fiber that you'll have inlaid there that you've seen the picture of. And also you're going to want to make sure that you get it pressed down into like your edge of your frames really good. You want to make sure it gets down in there and it is taken up, like you don't have any air pockets or empty spaces down through that. So also you'll want a vibrator
something to vibrate the edges and get all the little air bubbles out. I have like a 5-in-1 oscillating tool, and there's a vibra blade you can get. So it basically is shaped just like your cutting blade when you use it like a plunge saw, but there's no teeth on it. So it's just a metal blade that just kind of vibrates back and forth. And you can take that and that's what I use to vibrate all the edges of my frame. If you don't have that, you can take a regular old sander with no sandpaper or anything and just really work your edges. Anything that'll vibrate your hand, you can take it and just vibrate the edge of that frame and get all your air bubbles out. This is really important so that you don't get like little potholes, because anywhere there's an air bubble, there's going to be a hole in your concrete when you take your frame off. Now, if this happens, don't freak out. There's a solution to this, and it is pretty common. So, moving forward, here we go. It looks like I'm about done here, so I'm going to go get these poured in my frames. Hey guys, so we are in my shop. I'm going to show you a few tools that you'll need to get this concrete poured. So you saw me mixing the concrete. I was going to take it in and I'm going to pour it into the frames. So the first thing you'll need, I like to have one of these bad boys, okay? And I like to get the pointed one like this. And it's not a finishing tool by any means, but I like to use it to help me move it around and just get it shoved into all those corners, because that's going to be the most important part, that you make sure that all your concrete gets in all the nooks and crannies so you don't have any empty spaces or air bubbles. So once you take this and you spread it all out, you'll want a screed to get it even and get it level. I, honest to God, just use a 2x4 because it's not smoothing it out, it's just getting it level. So you just need something that is long enough to go from the back edge to the front edge of your frame, okay? So it touches both. And then you can take it and you wiggle it back and forth like this, and then you wiggle it down your frame. And that's gonna level the top. So once you get it level, the next tool you're gonna need is a magnesium float or trowel. So the reason we use the magnesium float is because it leaves not a rough finish, but you can get it kind of smoothed out, but it looks, I'm trying to think of the word. It's not as smooth as what your steel trowel is going to get. And you want to do this until it sets up pretty good, because you want the air bubbles and the water, the water mostly, to continue to evaporate and get out of that concrete. So you want to use your magnesium float first. This is very important, or you're going to end up with kind of like a dusty finish, and you're going to have a really hard time getting it sanded down smooth and polished looking. So use your magnesium float and you let it sit for a little while. Depending on your weather and the humidity and that kind of thing, it'll take different times. So excuse me, my allergies are killing me. So use your magnesium float, you get it pretty smoothed out, you let it sit. This particular project that I'm using as an example that I'm showing you guys, I believe I let it set for an hour, maybe 2, something like that. And then I come back. So basically you want it to firm up enough that you can put your finger and it not leave an indentation. Like if you were to press real hard, it would leave an indentation, but you should be able to just walk up and touch it and it be relatively firm, and you don't want to see the wet spots across the top. At that point, you can take your steel trowel and you can go over and you can really smooth it out. And that's when you're going to want it to look as smooth as glass. Get all your trowel marks out that you can. And this is going to be kind of your final set before, or your final thing to do before it's totally set. I highly recommend Concrete Countertop Solutions has a product called Trowel Slick, and it's great. So you put it in like a spray bottle and you can spray the top of your concrete and you can spray your trowel as you're working, and I don't really know what exactly it does, but it makes it not have as much friction. So it's really a lot easier for like your do-it-yourselfer to get a more professional finish, because as you go, you'll get better at not leaving the trowel marks and ridges, but I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing to figure out right at the beginning. The biggest thing is that you don't want to go across the concrete flat. You want to have a little bit of an angle. So when you're coming across, it's like this. Also, you'll get used to it and you'll figure it out. If you put more pressure on one end than the other, it'll dip in and dig. And that'll also leave a trowel mark. It's not rocket science though, folks. Just play with it. And the great part is you got a little time to just keep working it till you're satisfied with what it looks like. So magnesium float first, and then your steel trowel last after your water has escaped. So that is my tips, my tricks, my tools of the trade, and the things that I recommend from the concrete countertop solutions. It's made it a lot easier because I've done this previous to getting this system that just made a lot of the issues that I've had to work through before the hard way. It's made it a lot easier for like your average person to just figure it out, because I think I did 3 or 4 of these, and I had some pretty comical mistakes before I worked through how not to make a lot of these things happen. But the beauty of it is that if it's not perfect, most of the time you can fix some stuff. Like the potholes, that's the other thing I wanted to talk, and I'll put it in my blog. But so for the full description of everything, go to the blog. It'll have all the videos, all the descriptions. But the potholes, you just take some concrete patch, and you rub in the holes, and you let it all set, and then you sand it down smooth. Simple as that, and it just gets all those little air bubbles. It's not enough to affect the structure of the countertop. It's purely a cosmetic thing. So, anywho, all right, now you know.